Hello, and welcome to Elders Wellness. My name is Kent Kaltenbach. I'm an exercise physiologist here at South Central Foundation. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. Before we get started, just a couple of reminders. We want you to exercise where you're comfortable. That means a comfortable range of motion, pain-free. You can modify any exercises to make them feel better to you. If you experience any faintness, dizziness, pain, or shortness of breath, please stop exercising and contact your provider. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with some neck range of motion. Let's just tip our heads over to the left, and we'll hold there for 5 seconds. And then come back up to center and tip your head over to the right. Just taking the ear toward the shoulder. And we're going to come back up. All these movements happen slowly. Let's tip the chin down toward the chest. And don't force any of these motions. Just do what feels good to you. Come back up to neutral. And we're going to look up at the ceiling. And you can push your chin up toward the ceiling as well. Come back to neutral. We're going to rotate to the right. Come back to center and rotate left. Good. Now that we've gone through it once, we're going to go through again. We'll add a couple of more movements. We're going to tip the chin down toward the chest. And then we're going to take the ear over to the side. We'll come back up. We're going to take the chin down toward the chest and tip the ear toward the opposite shoulder. Come back up. This time we'll tip the ear over toward the shoulder, and then we'll rotate down. Come back up to center. Take that ear toward the opposite shoulder and rotate down. Come back to center. We're going to look up. Push that chin toward the ceiling. And then come back to center. Very good. We're going to do some hand reaches now, and I want you to use your whole body to make these hand reaches happen. You're just going to shift your weight from one foot to the other foot as you reach side to side. You always want to start these reaches nice and easy, maybe a shorter motion. As you feel comfortable, you reach a little bit further, you challenge your balance a little bit more. This works the shoulders and the trunk and the hips, as well as works on your balance. Good. We're going to go side to side again, but we're going to do it up overhead and to the opposite side of the body. So we get a little bit more trunk involved. If this doesn't feel good, modify it. Maybe you're going to keep your hand right next to your head because you can't raise your arm that high because of a shoulder issue. That's okay. Maybe you can reach high with one side and you got to keep it a little lower with one side. That's fine. Keep it pain-free. Shift your weight from one foot to the other as you make that reach happen. Excellent work. We're going to rotate to the opposite side, so I want you to reach around. And you're welcome to keep both feet planted on the floor, Or you can pivot one foot, shift your weight in the direction that you're reaching, and let that unweighted foot rotate around with your shoulders and your hips. Very nice. Okay. We're going to rotate again, but this time it's going to be to the same side. So we're going to swing one arm back. And we're letting everything turn. My head turns. I'm kind of following my hand with my eyes. If that makes you dizzy, you can keep your head a little more neutral, or you can just turn your head halfway. Notice I'm still pivoting my feet, shifting my weight from side to side to allow more of a rotation through my whole body. Great job. We're going to reach right out front, and then we're going to come up tall. All the way up tall before we reach again. So I have just a little bit of a bend in my knee. Some people choose to bend their knee a little bit more. Some people like to keep their knee straight. Just depends on what kind of a stretch that you're after. You're going to get a little bit more stretch in your hamstrings with a straight leg. You get a little bit more stretch up into the glute area or your bottom when you bend your knees a little bit more. And again, if you have a shoulder issue, you might reach with your elbow. Reaching with your elbow is going to be an easy modification to take some stress off your shoulder. Maybe you can't even do that. Maybe you're just going to reach with your shoulder. You have one arm where you can reach all the way out, and you have one arm where you just reach with your shoulder. You're still getting the benefit through the rest of the body. Okay, our last reach is going to be backward overhead. I'm going to show you this from the side because it's important to use your knees and hips. You're going to let your knees and hips travel forward as you reach your hand up and back. Maybe a good idea for you to have a chair behind you while you do this exercise, just in case you lose your balance. Oh, I leaned back too far. I can just sit down, okay? But using your knees and hips and letting them travel forward protects your back. A great place to work on these exercises is in your kitchen because you've got a nice high countertop that you can grab a hold of if you do lose your balance. You can back yourself up to the cabinet in case you lose your balance. You're going to run into the cabinet, or you could have it beside you. When you're reaching side to side, you can grab it if you lose your balance. Okay? So we're going to do some reaches with our feet now. They're going to look similar to our hand reaches. What I want you to do is reach out front and just tap your toe. And if you feel able, you don't have to tap your toe. You can just reach your foot forward. You don't have to put your foot on the ground. I'll show you a side view here so you can see that I'm leaning back with my upper body so that I can reach out forward with my foot. And again, you can have a chair next to you or be next to a countertop while you perform these reaches, grabbing on if you need to. All right, we're going to take that reach backward now. So I'm going to reach back, and when I do that, I need to lean forward with my upper body to counter where my foot is going. And these should be a pretty good balance challenge for you. The further you reach, the more you challenge your balance. So practice where you need it. You don't have to look like anybody else. You might reach back this far. Your spouse or your friend might reach back a little further. That's okay. Practice where you're challenged. All right, excellent. We're going to reach out to the side and then out to the other side. Notice my upper body is going the opposite direction that my foot goes. And if you can't do this, you can always tap your toe. You can make this a short step or short little reach with your foot and tap the floor. If you feel more comfortable and it's not challenging to tap your toe, reach that foot all the way out to the side as far as you can until you feel challenged. Great job. All right, we're going to go sideways now to the opposite side of the body, and we're going to cross in front, just starting with a toe tap. And then we can go ahead and reach across, if you're comfortable, without putting your foot down. Always start with a small motion. Make it bigger as you feel able to. Gradually challenge yourself, especially if you haven't done these motions before. We're going to also cross behind while we go side to side. So start with tapping your toe. Tap your toe on the floor each step. And then as you feel comfortable, you can try to reach across without setting your foot down. And I'm going pretty fast with these. You can slow it down as slow as you want. You might do this. Take a minute to get your balance, and then do this, okay? Go at your own pace. All right, good. Now we've gone forward and backward. We've gone side to side. We're now going to rotate. So our rotational reach is going to start with just a step around the front of our body. And you're trying to turn just like you're changing directions. If you're going this way and you decide you want to go this way, that's the step you would take, right? Now we're going to try to do that without putting the foot down if we can. Just rotate around to each side. You may lose your balance occasionally and have to put that foot down, like I've been doing. Nothing wrong with that at all. That just means you're challenging yourself. That's a good thing. If you can do this perfectly without any mistakes, any time putting your foot down, then you're probably not challenging yourself enough. You can try to go a little bit further. All right, so we rotated around the front with our feet. We're now going to rotate around the back. So we're going to turn, kind of open up the hips. So my right foot is turning to the right. My left foot is turning to the left. And after I've tried that a few times, I can try not to put my foot down. I'm just going to turn with it. So my hips, my shoulders, my head are all turning together. And if I want to make this even more difficult, I can turn and look over my shoulder. And that's going to make it even more of a balance challenge. Just go slow enough that this doesn't make you dizzy. If it does make you dizzy, you need to take your head out of it a little bit. Keep your eyes going the same direction your shoulders face. All right, great job. We're going to do some wall push-ups now, and we're going to vary our hand position. So we're going to start our wall push-ups with our left hand a little bit higher than our right hand, just like this. So put your hands on the wall and try this wall push-up. And we're just going to keep our body straight, lower ourselves toward the wall, and then push ourselves back up. The key to this exercise is a straight body. You want to make sure that you don't let your hips sag toward the wall and you don't stick your butt way out. Keep a nice tall posture. Okay? And we're going to switch high hand now. We're going to take the right hand up higher. So the right hand's up on the wall now, a little higher than the left, and we can do our push-up again. Now to challenge yourself, if this is too easy for you, there's a couple things you can do. One is to just scoot your feet back a little bit further. And if you scoot your feet back, you might have to lower your hands on the wall a little bit. Good. The other thing that you could try is you could try a countertop push-up. So the countertop is going to be a little bit lower and it's going to put you at more of an incline and you're going to be quite a bit more challenged. So we did left hand high, right hand high with our hand position. We're going to go wide now. So let's go a little bit wider. This is shoulder width for me. I'm going to go a little bit wider than shoulder width. Okay? So here I'm shoulder width, here I'm a little wider than shoulder width, and I'm going to go right back into my push-up. All right, good job. Now I'm going to go back to shoulder width and a little narrower than shoulder width. Okay? So a little bit narrower than shoulder width for my push-up this time. And the reason we're changing our hand position when we do these push-ups is because it changes where we put the stress in our joints. If I do a bunch of push-ups in the same position, I wear on my joint in the same spot. But if I change my hand position, I'm changing what stress goes into my joints. Okay? So we're going to do 2 more hand positions with our push-ups. I want you to turn your fingers out just a little bit. Okay? That's going to draw your elbows in closer together, and it's going to work more the back of your arms. So we're going to turn our fingers out. So we're shoulder width with our hands. Our fingers are turned out, and we're going to do our push-up now. Good. And the last push-up position is going to be with the fingers turned in. That's going to make your elbows go out to the side. Great job. Okay, now we're going to do some lower body exercises. I'm going to grab a chair. So you're going to need to get a chair from somewhere in your house. And we're going to use our chair to do some hip checks. So I want you to put your chair beside you, and we're going to strengthen the muscle on the outside of the hip. This is important to do. Let's go ahead and start with the exercise. I want you to lean in, touch the chair, just like this. And if it's easy, you're just going to inch away from the chair, just a little bit. If it's still easy, scoot away from the chair just a little bit more, okay? The reason it's important for us to strengthen this muscle on the outside of the hip is because when we walk long distances, a lot of people complain about the outside of their hips hurting. When we walk, we take a step, we have to shift our weight over to pick up our other foot and take a step, okay? So we need that hip to be strong because it supports our body and keeps us from falling over. So we've just done about 10 of these with our feet side by side. I want you to bring your left foot forward now, and we're going to do a few more. We're just reaching out and we're touching that chair. If you can get to the chair without feeling any kind of pressure in your hip, you're probably a little bit too close to it. You need to scoot away. If you feel a lot of pressure in your hip and this is too difficult, scoot in a little bit closer to the chair. Okay? Now we're going to switch and we're going to put the right foot forward and we're going to try it again and adjust where you need to stand to get the right resistance. Again, we're doing about 10 of these. And the reason we're doing the different foot positions is because we're in all three of these positions while we walk. All right, so when I'm about to take a step, I have to pick up my foot. With my right foot in front, I have to pick up my left foot. So here I am, my right foot's forward. Now I'm swinging through, my feet are even. Now I'm about to step down, my right foot's forward. That whole time I've got pressure on my hip. So we're strengthening that hip at all three of those angles. So let's go ahead and switch the chair to the other side, and we're going to work the opposite hip now. And I'm going to try a couple. And that feels pretty easy. I'm just going to scoot away. Now I feel like my hip's doing some work, and I'm going to do my 10 reps. So this exercise will increase how far you can walk before your hips start to hurt. So let's go ahead and put the left foot forward again, and we'll do some more of these. Go at your own pace. If your hips get sore when you walk, you might have to start with just 3 to 5 of these in each foot position. If your hips are feeling pretty good while you're doing them, you can go up to 10. Let's go ahead and put the right foot forward now. Just a few more to go. All right, great. So now we're going to stand in front of our chair, and we're going to do some sit to stands. And I'll show you this from the side, and I'll also show you from the front. What you want to do is reach your hands forward at the same time your hips go back. That counterbalances you and keeps you from falling into the chair. But we're going to go ahead and go down and sit in the chair. Now it's impossible for me to stand up from this position. I can't push, it doesn't matter how strong I am, I can't sit here straight up like this and stand myself up. I have to lean forward. Our muscles are elastic. So I have to lean forward, I have to stretch this elastic tissue here to create some energy, like stretching a rubber band. I have to store some energy before I can get back up. So if you have a problem getting up out of a chair, you really need to kind of aggressively get your weight forward. The more you can rock forward, the easier it's going to be for you to get up out of that chair, okay? So we're going to lean forward to help control our motion down. We're going to lean forward pretty fast, pretty aggressively to get up, okay? It's unlikely that you're going to fall forward from this position, but you could always have another chair in front of you to grab. We're strong when we pre-stretch these muscles. So doing that forward lean is going to really help you out. Now, if this is pretty easy for you, what I want you to do is come down, barely touch, and then come back up, rather than sitting all the way down. You can challenge yourself that way, okay? So if I'm going to barely touch the chair, push back up, I'm having to switch directions. Now, instead of me sitting all the way down, being able to relax for a minute and not having to deal with that direction change, it takes a big load off my muscles. So if you want to challenge yourself, you barely touch that chair. Like if there was a grape in the seat, you wouldn't squish it. You would touch it, but you wouldn't squish it. And that's going to make those muscles work quite a bit harder. Good. One other thing you can do when you're working on sit to stands or working on squatting is if you're getting pain in maybe a knee or a hip or an ankle, you can play around with your foot position. So I might toe out with my right leg while I do this, and it might make my knee feel a lot better. Or I might toe in a little bit and it might make my knee feel better. It depends on what's bothering your knee. But if you play around with some foot positions, maybe a little bit wider than normal, kind of like we did with our hand position on the push-ups, or maybe narrower, all these different positions can take pressure off of joints, okay? You might have pain in your right knee, so you're gonna, pain in your left knee, so you're gonna put your right foot back behind you and take some pressure off that knee. Or vice versa, you might put the right leg forward and take some pressure off that knee, okay? So play around with those foot positions, one foot slightly in front of the other, toed in or toed out, or maybe a little bit wider, a little bit narrower, and see if you can't relieve some of the tension in your knees while you're doing your squats. Thank you very much for joining me for Elders Wellness today. I hope you keep doing these exercises consistently, and I hope they make you feel stronger, better, and better balanced. Thank you.